In a previous video, we discovered that in fact there's no such thing as subtraction. Right? In a previous video we noted that subtraction can be rewritten as adding the opposite. So, for example, we could rewrite 7 minus 4 as 7 plus negative 4. We've also now discovered, though we haven't said it explicitly, that division can be rewritten as multiplication by the reciprocal. And so, in a very similar way to the way we said there's no such thing as subtraction, because it's really just adding the opposite, we will now say that there's no such thing as division, because it's really just multiplying by the reciprocal. Now, we know that this works for fractions. For example, if we wanted to divide 2/3 by 5/7, we would rewrite that as 2/3 times 7/5. And that would be 2 times 7 over 3 times 5, which is 14/15. Okay, so that's cool for fractions. What about whole numbers, right? Like we know that 28 divided by 4 equals 7. How could we rewrite that using multiplication by the reciprocal? Well, first we need to remember that every whole number can be written as a fraction with denominator 1, right? So this is 28 wholes divided by 4 wholes. And now we're ready to actually think in terms of reciprocals. 28 wholes times 1/4. Okay, so we multiply the numerators. 28 times 1 is just 28. We multiply the denominators. 1 times 4 is just 4. How am I going to get 7 out of that? Well, I'm going to simplify it, aren't I? 28, that's, well, it's 4 times 7, right? 4 is 2 times 2. 4 is still 2 times 2 when I write it over here. So I have 2 times 2 times 7 over 2 times 2. In my numerator, I'm left with 7. In my denominator, nothing's left, which means I'm just left with 1. So, yeah, rewriting it as multiplication by the reciprocal still gives me 28 divided by 4 equals 7. Now, this is not a useful process for finding out the answers to division problems, right? Because when we're in the process of finding out the answers to division problems, well, we need to find out the answers in order to build these factor trees, right? But it does tell us important things about the properties of division. In particular, this means that whenever we want to think about the properties of division, we can just take whatever division we're looking at and rewrite it as multiplication. This actually gives us a property of division that I didn't justify to you earlier. Remember when we were talking about dividing signed numbers? And I told you that division follows all the same rules as multiplication? Now we see that what's really going on here is when we take a positive divided by a positive, what we're really saying is that a positive number times the reciprocal of a positive number is a positive number. The positive times the reciprocal of a negative number is a negative number, and so on. So really, all that we're saying is the reciprocal keeps its sign the same, and that's incredibly plausible. So for example, the reciprocal of positive 2/3 is positive 3/2, whereas the reciprocal of negative 2/3 is negative 3/2. That seems plausible. In a future lesson, we're going to talk about exactly what's going on with this reciprocal thing, and that's going to show us that it really must be the case that the reciprocal of a negative number is also negative.